welcome to IGNOU's classroom. In today's video, we'll be talking about Altman's Z-score. By the end of this video, I hope that you will be able to have or make a comprehensive idea about Altman's Z-score, which we had discussed while we were talking about the comparative common size and trend statements as part of this unit 14 of MMPC 5. So let's get started. We first spoke about Altman's Z-score while we were talking about how we can use financial ratios to predict bankruptcy. And we understood from there that it was Edward Altman who created this Z-score by investigating a few business failures in the US using this MBA technique, that is multiple discriminant analysis technique. And he found out that of all the different factors which had a relationship with the failure of the firm, he found out that 5 major factors are as the key drivers of failure. And based on that, he found out a Z-score, which once we calculate, depending upon that score, we can predict whether or not the firm is headed towards bankruptcy or not. By no means this is a perfect one. There have been revisions, but this is one of the methods with which you can actually predict. So let us find out what exactly Altman's Z-score is. So according to him, or according to Edward Altman, for a firm which is operating in the manufacturing area, okay, or listed firms, the Z-score formula is given like this: 1.2 times x1 plus 1.4 times x2 plus 3.3 times x3 plus 0.6 times x4 and plus 1 time x5. So these x1, x2, x3, x4 and x5 are the the financial ratios which he found as the most affecting for a manufacturing and listed firms, where x1 is the net working capital to total assets, x2 is the retained earnings to total assets, x3 is the earning before interest and tax to total assets, x4 is the market value of equity to total liabilities, and x5 is the sales to total assets. And once we have these 5 ratios, if we put it in this formula for Z-score, we'll get a score. Okay, we'll get a number which is called as the Z-score. If the Z-score is greater than 2.99, then the firm is financially sound. But if it is less than 1.81, then the firm is financially not healthy and is most likely to go bankrupt. If the firm's Z-score lies between 1.81 and 2.99, then they fall in the gray zone where the model cannot predict the business failure or otherwise. Now, for non-manufacturing and unlisted firms, we have a slightly different Z-score called as the revised Z-score. And the 5, ratios are also a little bit different. So according to this revised Altman's Z-score for non-manufacturing and unlisted firms, he found out that there are mainly 4 factors which affect, or 4 financial ratios. X1 is same as the previous one also only. That is for manufacturing firms, the x1, x2, x3. x5 is not there and x4 is a little bit different. So x1 is the net working capital to total assets, x2 is retained earnings to total assets, x3 is the earnings before interest and taxes to total assets, but x4 is the book value of equity to total liabilities. And in this, if the score is greater than 2.9, then the firm is financially healthy. If it is less than 1.23, then it is weak and likely to go to bankruptcy. Between 2.9 and 1.23, it is in the gray zone. So earlier for manufacturing firms, it was between 1.81 and 2.99. But over here, it is between 1.23 and 2.9. So that is the difference in the Altman Z-score values for manufacturing and non-manufacturing firms. So what exactly do these ratios mean? We should know about that. Net working capital to total assets is a measure of the net liquid assets of the firm in relation to the total capitalization. Retained earnings to total assets is a measure of the retained earning of a firm in relation to its total assets. This ratio will be higher for old or well-established firms compared to the newer ones. And similarly, just like this ratio, newer companies are more susceptible to failure than old ones, which are well established. Earnings before interest and tax to total assets is the ratio of the measures of productivity of the firm's assets, independent of the effects of leverage or tax. Leverage is nothing but interest. Market value of equity to total liabilities ratio indicates how much the firm's assets can decline in value when you compare it with the market value of its equity and likely to become bankrupt. Sales to total assets ratio is also called as the capital turnover ratio, and it indicates the sales that generating ability of the firm's assets. Book value of equity to total liabilities is also known as the book value per share, BVPS, and it takes the ratio of a firm's common equity divided by the number of shares outstanding. Book value of equity per share effectively indicates a firm's net asset value, that is, total assets minus total liabilities, on a per share basis. So that was about Altman's z-score. These are the few things that you have to make sure that you write down while if a question comes in the term and examination asking you about Altman's z-score. So I hope you found this video useful and you are now more familiar about Altman's z-score than you were before the start of this video. In case you still have doubts about any of the concepts, please feel free to use the comment section to let me know your questions, and I will try my best to rectify them or clarify them to the best of my ability. In case you like the way how our classroom functions, consider subscribing if you have not yet, and share about us amongst your circle, because then it will help me reach a wider audience and help much more people just like you. If you like the video, let me know by a thumbs up, and if you did not, let me know that too by showing your dislike through the dislike button. Thank you so much for your attention. Until I see you in the next video, bye bye.